Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to another episode in our FEMTalks series. I'm so excited to be joined by Evelyn today. Just before we get started, I'm going to quickly introduce myself. So my name is Pooja, and I'm currently the VP of Outreach here at Booster. So I guess we can get right into it. Evelyn, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm Evelyn. I'm actually a recent grad as of last year, class of 2021 from the University of Waterloo, and I got a Bachelor's of Science in Biotech and Econ. And I've worked a few internships in project management and consulting throughout my undergrad, but currently I work at PwC in technology consulting.
Thank you, Evelyn, for telling us a little bit. So I guess as a recent graduate, how did you navigate starting your career, and what advice would you give to somebody who's in that similar position?
So I think as a recent grad, you still have, a lot of advantages that come from being really early in your career. So one of the biggest pieces of advice that I have is to take the biggest advantage of that. For example, I know a lot of companies might have rotational new grad programs, or in general, they have sort of like a new grad cohort where you can meet a lot of other recent grads or students who might have gone to your school, might have gone to like other schools near you. And it's just a cohort of everyone's your similar age where you really get to like have that network and get to connect with everyone. I know we have that here at PwC as well. So I think that's one of the advantages of being a new grad. And then some companies have a buddy system. So sometimes when you just start out your career, they would pair you with like a mentor or another buddy in the company who's uh, most often in the same kind of line of work as you are, and they're more senior, so they have a little bit more experience, but they're also like really early in their career as well, so they're a little bit closer and can relate to where you are when you're just starting your career, and they can help you really navigate the company as well as navigate your overall career journey. So I think just one of the biggest tips that I've had just while learning as a recent grad this past year is to really take advantage of all of the neat programs that you get to take advantage of as a new grad.
Definitely. I hope that helps some people in our network. So I guess another question kind of leading up to careers after post grad. So if you could give somebody a step-by-step process to searching for a job or getting a job post graduation, what would it be?
Right. So I think the first step that I would advise people to take is to start early if you can. I know personally for me, this might have been a little too early. I don't know, but I started in like August the year before I was graduating. So this doesn't have to be like you actively sending out your resume and applying. This could be, you starting to look at what industry am I interested in working in, what companies are in those industries, where would I like to work in terms of location, what types of roles am I interested in, and then really compiling, a list or a spreadsheet of everything that you're interested in, and then starting to do some more research, whether it's looking on the company website, looking at articles, or even going on LinkedIn, following that company and seeing like a few other people who work there and even reaching out to them, just like basically explaining that you're soon to be a graduate, you're really interested in the company or the role that they're currently working in, and if they'd like to connect. So it could be just about like doing your preliminary research. And I'd say to start early on that because, that does take a little bit of time. People might not have availability right away in the next like 1 or 2 weeks to chat, but they might have availability later on in a few weeks. So I'd really advise like starting to do some of that preliminary research really early on. The next piece of advice is to, of course, polish your resume and your cover letter. I think we've heard it so many times before, but I think doing that type of background research first and then using those inputs to polish your resume and be like kind of inputs into what a good resume should contain will really give you a better idea when you're writing your resume and you're kind of framing your experiences around certain roles and really like picking out the points from your previous experiences and how they would feed into the roles that you like. I think that's a really good way to go about it instead of, just being stuck with your resume in front of you, trying to refine like a few words here and there when it doesn't really align with what the industry is looking for. I think it's much better to go the other way around when you're doing your research first, and then you're doing your resume and your cover letter as a follow-up to that. And in terms of like getting it reviewed, I would say to, ask your friends who might be in your program, ask friends who are in different programs, even ask any professionals that you might know who are already working, and to get as many opinions as possible, because really, like, two people might tell you completely different things, and you might be a little confused, and you might say like, oh, which one should I go with? Really listen to the reasoning behind why they're telling you to change your resume in a certain way. And if you can see the reasoning, especially if you get a lot of opinions, you can start to see everyone's reasoning, and you can make that best decision, because at the end of the day, it's your resume and your cover letter and like your job search process. So really understand the reason behind the advice that they're giving you and implement it that way. And I guess the third step, or like the third piece of advice that I have, is practice makes perfect in terms of interviewing. So I know in the fall semester of when I was really doing my recruiting for a new grad role, my friend and I set up like weekly calls where we would kind of like drill interview questions, whether it's behavioral, or for me, whether it was like case-based. We would stick to that like every single week. And even if the questions don't actually end up being asked exactly how they are in the actual interview themselves, when you interview with the actual company, it does help practice that mental muscle of being able to, speak kind of on the fly, come up with past experiences on the fly, and, being able to answer interview questions, even if they're unexpected. I think it's really a muscle that you have to practice. Like, no amount of reading an article about how to interview well will ever replace practicing the actual skill itself, like over and over again. So I think those would be my like three top tips for that searching for a job process as a new grad.
Definitely. It's something that can be really overwhelming. So you really broke it down into like really digestible pieces. So that was great. Something that also can be overwhelming is like adjusting to a life of like somebody who's working now. So what are some methods
Yeah.
that you use to adjust to life after school? What are some things that work for you, or maybe some things that didn't work for you as well?
Mm. So I thought about this one, and I think one of the things that I wish I didn't do like way too early on, or like I didn't do all at once, was like join all of the extracurriculars that you could at work, right? So I know a lot of workplaces, they have a lot of employee resource groups. They have like, you can help organize this event, and you can be part of like this employee group, and you can help volunteer at, giving like a conference at this school as part of your company. I think those events are all great. But I think something that the reason that I jumped into all of these like so early was because I was trying to join as many like extracurriculars as I can, because in university you're part of so many other things outside of school. So I thought that would be same thing as work. But I would say to, in order to like adjust slowly to working life, I would say to maybe just pick one or two of those extracurriculars and try to really get adjusted first to the actual work itself before jumping into and committing to all of these extra um, work commitments that like might detract you away from what your work actually is. So I think that would be something that didn't work as well for me when I was adjusting, but something that did work well for me when I was adjusting is to kind of establish a schedule for yourself. I know we talk about work-life balance a lot, but really being able to separate when you're working as much as possible, trying to end all of your work by 5 p.m. or whenever your workplace finishes, and then having some sort of routine, whether it's, every Thursday you partake in this hobby, for example, going to dance class, just having some sort of routine to build up that involves like your work life as well as your personal life, I think is a really good method in terms of being able to adjust as a new grad.
Definitely. That was all great advice. As somebody who's hopefully going to be graduating soon in 2 years, I'll definitely take some of this with me. So I guess before we end off, is there any other like input or advice that you have for the Booster Network?
this might be a little bit, first job might not be the absolute perfect one for you, right? And don't be discouraged by that, I think. So, you spend so much time like looking for the perfect fit. You talk to so many people on LinkedIn, you talk to so many like fellow students. But once you actually start working at your first internship or your first job, you find that it's not exactly what you were looking for. It's not exactly the perfect fit. My advice would be, don't be discouraged by that. Instead, take all the learnings that you can and remember what you liked about it, and remember some things that like you didn't quite see a fit in, and remember that to go forward in your next job. Because I think we have to remember that we're all so early in our career, and it's going to be such a long journey in front of us. So we really have that time to make mistakes. So don't be too caught up if your first internship or your first job isn't the perfect fit for you. We have a lot of time. So yeah, I think that would be my advice.
Definitely. I think that's some great advice, especially hopefully help ease some people's career anxiety, especially as everybody always talks about like finding their passion right away. So I think that definitely helps the network. So I guess I just want to thank you so much for coming on here and talking to us today. Other than that, I hope you have a great day.
All right. Thanks, everyone.